As listeners, we want you to understand that the solution of business, tax, and legal issues depends on many factors, including local, state, and federal laws. Listeners' names and questions may be simulated. The show is not intended to offer business, tax, or legal advice, and Spiegel and Utrera PA, its attorneys, and Lawrence J. Spiegel recommend you seek legal advice from an attorney about your specific matter. AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. There are only two types of people, those in business and those who wish they were. Join Larry Spiegel, entrepreneur, author, and managing shareholder of Spiegel and Utrera PA, with host Joe Castello, as they tackle issues and challenges associated with starting, expanding, buying, or selling your business in today's highly competitive marketplace. It's time to start or expand your business today. And now, here's Larry Spiegel and Joe Castello.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. I'm your host, Joe Castello, along with entrepreneur, author, and managing shareholder of Spiegel and Utrera PA, Larry Spiegel. Larry, welcome back.
Joe, thank you for having me back.
Oh, I'm very excited to have you back, and we're going to get right back into it, folks, and start answering some questions about how to get your business started. But, Larry, as we always do, let's talk about why we're doing this. There's a lot of opportunity out there. People want to make moves, a chance to start their business, to get something going, but they need to make the right moves early on to form a strong foundation.
Without a doubt, and any assistance we can afford them along the way, we're happy to do it. There's a ton of questions and issues that need to be addressed and that need to be covered.
And we're going to get right into it. For those of you out there listening, we are answering your questions. You can email us, radioshow@AmeriLawyer.com, if you've got a question, and we'll get to it on the show. Or call in, 800-520-7600. Leave your name and your question, and we'll use it on the air. There's a good chance we'll use it on the air. They're not all getting used on the air, but many of them getting used on the air here as we delve into it. So, Larry, you ready to get into the questions?
Let's go.
Let's do it. First up.
Hey, guys. Name is Mark. I really enjoy the show. I produce and record my own music and wanted to get your perspective on what things are out there, what pitfalls, what things I need to be doing to protect my work and protect my business. Thanks a lot.
Well, your work can best be protected, Mark, through the United States Copyright Office. And basically, recorded music has at least two means of protection. One for the sound of the recording itself and also for the musical composition. So there's two opportunities to copyright there. And copywriting itself affords you a degree of protection and allows you to enforce your copyright rights that you receive in the federal courts of the United States. So it's extremely important. There's no other way that you can enforce your copyrights other than through the United States federal courts.
And so you've got to go in, you've got to be very diligent about this. We hear it all the time. Two musicians had something similar, the same name, the same sound, and if one goes through the right process, they're going to be the one that the court looks at as the true owner.
Absolutely, and we've heard over the years about the poor man's copyright. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, Joe.
Let me see if I know what it is. Take whatever it is and mail it to yourself?
That's it. And absolutely, there's no protection afforded by that process. As I stated previously, you must register with the United States Copyright Office and through that process receive a bundle of rights that are enforceable in the United States federal courts.
There is no such thing as the poor man's copyright.
It doesn't exist.
Wow, that's one that I think we just debunked a major rumor. For years, I had heard that in many different forms of business, that, oh, yeah, take a video of yourself holding the newspaper with the date on it, or send it to yourself and get the postmark. So all that is totally debunked.
It is, Joe. Generally, we're talking there about original works of authorship.
Very good, Mark. Thank you very much for your question. Moving on to the next one. This one from Connie.
Hi, Larry. My name is Connie, and with all these farmers markets popping up, I've decided I'd like to start selling the fruits and vegetables I grow. Do I need to formally set up a business for something this small and part-time? Thank you.
Yes, I believe you do have to set up a business and form an entity for that. There's always this question of liability, and we're always trying to avoid personal liability in the operation of our business. Now, as far as growing fruits and vegetables and selling them, there may be local licensing requirements that would be applicable to you depending upon where you're located. The United States Department of Agriculture also may be involved with your products, particularly if you want to label them as organic. So you need to check with them and be sure that you are complying with the rules that relate to organic fruits and vegetables. You didn't mention who you were selling to, but you may very well, in addition to the consumer, be selling to restaurants. The restaurant may require some sort of a certificate from you, issued by the United States Department of Agriculture, because many restaurants want to tell their patrons that they're serving organic fruits and vegetables. So a certificate may be required. To obtain the certificate is not that difficult, but you have to be aware of it. So I would refer you to the United States Department of Agriculture if you were interested in that. The only other thing that I could think of in that area, what may be applicable to you, is the Perishable Agricultural Commodities Act. Not too likely, but it is another law that is applicable to fruits and vegetables.
And I would think she would want to set up an entity just so she could take her expenses, whether it be fertilizer, or buying pots, or whatever she spends money on, and be able to take those expenses and convert them to business expenses.
I would call those direct business expenses. Remember, when we have our business set up and it's a separate legal entity, we're always looking to classify as business expenses items which may otherwise have been considered personal expenses. Now, you must be a little creative and think that through, but every business has opportunities in that regard. There's one other thing I wanted to mention about Connie, Joe, and that is that Connie needs to have a marketing plan. We could talk about a business plan, but even for a small grower, you need to have a marketing plan. I had mentioned whether you're going to sell to the consumer, you're going to sell to a restaurant, or you're going to sell to supermarkets, local grocery stores. You must have a marketing plan. Please have that in place before you put your seeds in the ground. Know where you're going. Plan your work and work your plan.
Thanks for your email, Connie. Next one from Jake. He's in the automotive industry. Guys, I purchased my LLC a few years ago and have now started doing business in the automotive field. We do custom work on cars and trucks. Someone recently told me that LLC is the wrong thing for me to have. I am the only business owner. Can you clear this up for me? Says Jake.
Well, Jake, if you've listened to the show at all, you know that I do not favor single-member limited liability companies. So that's really the short answer. You tell me that you're the only owner, I would say yes, you probably do have the wrong entity. Now, how can you correct this? One of the things you could do is get an additional owner. I'm not sure whether that would be applicable or not. You could set up another entity, for example, a subchapter S corporation that could become an owner in your LLC, and you could own the sub S corporation 100%. So that's a way to create another owner for your LLC. Now, why? Why would we do this? What are we concerned about? Well, the single-member LLC does not receive the asset protection that you really need to have as a business owner. The reason for this is because the law looks upon the single-member LLC as a disregarded entity and treats it as a sole proprietorship in most cases. Now, this is not necessarily true in all states, but there is enough of this going on that we have to be extremely careful. There is a way for you to correct it. Set up the S corporation, allow the S corporation to become a member in your LLC along with you. You then have created a multi-member LLC, and you'll receive the full asset protection that you need. Let me just say this, that the limited liability companies are new in the eyes of the law. Even though they may have been around for 20 years, in the eyes of the law, that's a very short period of time. So lawyers are at a distinct disadvantage when coming to explain these concepts because they are still in a state of change and their early infancy. And the idea is that a client should not be caught up in this growth period. Let's stick with something that's more stable. Now, again, we're only talking about a single-member limited liability company. When it comes to the multi-member limited liability company, this conversation is not applicable.
Now, you also mentioned he could bring on another owner. Is that something where he could give his wife a couple of shares just to fulfill the obligation, or a family member that is trusted, maybe a child that he wants to bring in on the LLC? That way he will have all his protection in the eyes of the law, and maybe involve someone he cares about and wants to get them in the business. Does that work as well?
Well, there's a few things there. First of all, we're not 100% sure that the wife can become the member and then satisfy the status as multi-member. So I would ask the client, do you file a joint tax return with your wife now? Chances are he'll say yes. So I would err then on the side of caution and say, well, that won't create a multi-member. Now, the family member joining the company, that's fraught with problems also, because we all know about the general proposition, you don't do business with friends and relatives. So what, you're going to go to a relative and ask them to do you a favor? Remember, there are tax implications. Each year they're going to receive a document for their tax returns called a K-1. And they're going to have lots of questions about that. So that's not really the solution we're looking for. The solution is, if you want to continue with the LLC, then form an S corporation, allow it to become an owner in this LLC with you, and you still will be the 100% owner of both of these entities, and still receive the maximum asset protection afforded under the law.
Jake, thanks for your email. I appreciate it. I'm Joe Castello. He's Larry Spiegel, and we'll be back after this on AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today.
Start or expand your business today.
There are some mistakes in business that may cause the occasional headache. Then there are some mistakes in business that may keep you up all night for weeks and months at a time. Avoid those mistakes by seeking strategic business and legal advice from a team of attorneys ready to help you. Spiegel and Joe PA's General Counsel Club can assist you with the tough legal and business questions at crucial times. Call toll-free 800-734-9900 to receive your annual membership and be entitled to get unlimited strategic business and legal advice for a year. The General Counsel Club can assist with how to buy or sell business, converting hobby expenses into legitimate business expenses. What are legitimate business expenses for tax purposes? Tips on leasing a business location, whether for retail, office, warehouse, or industrial. Leasing versus buying options for vehicles and equipment. IRS examinations, audits, liens, levies, deficiencies, and settlements of tax disputes. Knowledge is power, and knowing that Spiegel and Joe PA's General Counsel Club is one phone call away may give you the confidence to succeed during the day and rest well at night. Call 800-734-9900 or log on to AmeriLawyer.com today.
Got a question about starting, expanding, buying, or selling your business? Email radioshow@AmeriLawyer.com. Listeners' questions may air on episodes of AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. That's radioshow@AmeriLawyer.com. Now back to Start or Expand Your Business Today.
Welcome back to Start or Expand Your Business Today. I'm Joe Castello along with Larry Spiegel. Now, Larry, we're answering questions for people, and there are many, it seems. Many a challenge for people out there who are starting or expanding their business.
It's endless. I can tell you from experience that we receive hundreds of questions every week at the Spiegel and Joe General Counsel Club.
If you'd like to submit your question, radioshow@AmeriLawyer.com, or you can call 800-520-7600. That's 800-520-7600. Leave your name and your question, and it may be used on the show. Now, next question.
Hey, guys. My name's Al, and I'm from Rhode Island. I was wondering what the difference is between a trademark and a service mark. Are they the same as a copyright? And do I need to have them all? Thanks. I'll be listening.
Well, a trademark is a word, a phrase, a symbol, or a design, or a combination of those, that identifies and distinguishes the source of goods of one party from those of others. The service mark is similar, but it identifies a service rather than goods. So that's the difference between them. If you're in a service business, we see many times they're used interchangeably, but of course that wouldn't be absolutely correct. So that's the difference. Now, when you have completed the registration process of a trademark or a service mark, the end product is the same thing. It's the little R in the circle that you're going to affix to this word or phrase or symbol. So that leads to part of the confusion. So you rarely ever see SM being used, or TM is something that's used, but that's prior to registration. There's not much of a difference between them in the end. Both of them are entitled to the little r in the circle. Now, a copyright is something that's different in that it protects works of authorship, such as writings, music, and works of art. The definitions are rather technical, but I think everybody understands what we're talking about. The little r in the circle, that's the registration process, means it's been completed and it's registered. That same little r in a circle is used for service marks and trademarks. So that's really why we don't see SM much. TM is used frequently by people to want to put the world on notice that they claim ownership to a mark, and yet the registration process has not been completed. Once the process would be completed, they'd replace the TM with the R in the circle. We could say the same thing about SM. So if you see SM, it's in process or they haven't begun the process yet, and yet they're claiming ownership to that mark. In both cases, whether it be trademark or copyright, the reason we're doing this process is to, one, put everybody on notice of our ownership rights to these names or this item, and then in the case of a copyright. And secondarily, but most importantly, these bundle of rights we receive allow us to enforce our ownership rights, and they provide a process for that, give damages for it, and so on. So that's why this whole process is done.
John, thank you for your email. And this process, obviously, you have to file with the government, and it takes a while, though. It takes up to a year.
The trademarking process is a very lengthy process and can take as long as a year, as you pointed out. On the other hand, the copywriting process is not as long. Typically, I would say 6 weeks would be a long time for the copyright process.
What would you recommend for someone who has just started their business and just gotten their logo and wants to go through the process of trademarking it, but also wants to start doing business as well, but is a little concerned about putting their really cool logo out there for someone to potentially steal it? That's where they should put the TM on there, basically stating, hey, I'm in the process.
Or SM if it's a service business. But let's distinguish here. You mentioned logo, which is fine. But really, we want to talk about the name of the business and the logo. And then we have the question, well, were we going to trademark both of them together? Are we going to trademark them separately? But they both need to be registered. Now, there might be a reason to register them separately or together. We recommend separately because we want to use them independently of one another and not always together.
John, thanks for your email. Good question. Certainly appreciate it. Next one coming from Andrew. Larry, my record-keeping skills are pretty weak. Are there any tips that will make this process easier? I'm more of an out-in-the-field kind of person as opposed to a paperwork office person. The sales are coming in, but I constantly feel disorganized. It's more of a business question, Larry.
Well, a couple things we want to mention here. First of all, the most obvious, you've opened a checking account at a bank in the name of your business. The other thing is, if you're going to use credit cards in your business to pay for expenses, designate a card for that purpose. Don't mix it with your personal expenses, and you may use more than one card, but try to keep your business expenses on a separate card or cards. Then what I recommend is that you develop a form that you use internally in your business for each expense that you encounter. On that form, you'd list the vendor, the amount of the charge, whether you paid it with a check and the check number or with a credit card and so on, and what the purpose of that charge was. Did you purchase gas, office supplies, whatever? And then you might staple the receipt for that purchase to that internal documentation that you've made up. I think if you do that faithfully and you keep your checkbook, you'll have a great head start when you take your things to your accountant, who will prepare your tax return at the end of the year. By going through the process of itemizing each charge also, you'll be constantly mindful of the fact that this is a business expense, and you'll become more attuned at taking advantage of every potential business expense you have out there. So I think it's very important. Now, you may want to go to accountant more often than the end of the year. It depends on your business. There are other rules that apply, tax deposit rules if you have employees and things like that. But it starts with you keeping the most fundamental records and having procedures in place, even if you consider yourself a non-paperwork type person.
It's not the end of the world. Every time you spend a little money, you write down exactly what it's for. You can still be disorganized and do that. There are disorganized people succeeding in business.
There are, but they're not maximizing the opportunities that they have to take advantage of by being in business if you don't go through this process. You may not be able to do it every day, but surely you have to take the time once a week to do it.
He's Larry Spiegel. I'm Joe Castello, and we're answering your questions about starting or expanding your business. We'll be back after this on AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today.
AmeriLawyer.com.
Start or expand your business today. Form your corporation for as little as $104.95. Each corporation is complete and includes state filing fees, corporation records book, corporate seal, articles of incorporation, corporate bylaws, corporate minutes, stock certificates, preliminary name search, and attorney's fees. Spiegel and Utrera PA and AmeriLawyer.com can also help you with assumed or fictitious business names, advising on legitimate business expenses for tax purposes, discussing the converting of personal expenses into deductible business expenses, assisting you in developing a service agreement for your business, answering your questions on the advantages of minority-owned business certification, explaining the differences between a corporation and a limited liability company, and the benefits of creating either a regular corporation, S corporation, or a limited liability company. Knowledge is power. Order over the phone at 800-603-3900. That's 800-603-3900 or online at AmeriLawyer.com.
Got a question about starting, expanding, buying, or selling your business? Call 800-520-7600. Just leave your name and your question. Listeners' questions may air on episodes of AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. That's 800-520-7600. Now back to Start or Expand Your Business Today.
AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. I'm Joe Castello. Larry, we're answering people's questions. We're knifing through them. You're on the ball today.
Well, thank you, Joe.
You're bringing the heat.
Great.
Well, we're getting plenty of questions from people out there, and I want to get right back into it. But I also look around and I see all the opportunity out there. There's a lot of businesses currently in action. You think about the economy, and you look just on every corner. There's somebody doing something to generate money to keep themselves going.
Well, there's a lot of dynamics going on in the United States today, and there are correspondingly tons of opportunities. For folks that can't find a job, they can start a business.
Let's go back to the emails. This one from John. What are the benefits of a federal trademark registration? And if I register my trademark, am I totally protected, says John.
Well, the benefits of the trademark registration are that you receive a bundle of rights under the law that'll give you an advantage in enforcing your ownership rights in the mark. You are also permitted to bring your complaint against any infringer in a federal court in the United States. Now, you cannot do that if it's not registered. When you have a trademark that's been registered, additionally, when you have a trademark that's been registered for more than 5 years, it's considered to be uncontestable and that you would be the owner of the trademark without any question. And you receive that advantage when you go to enforce your trademark against any infringer.
But you have to be prepared to defend your trademark.
Well, it's very important that if you have a trademark that you enforce your rights under the trademark. If you don't, you'll lose it because the trademark itself will become so common that it will have no value. So we see many companies that have trademarks that have batteries of lawyers enforcing their intellectual property rights, trademarks is one of them, by going after infringers. And I'm sure that many of the listeners today have gotten letters from companies out there protecting copyrights. We see over and over again where clients receive letters from companies that are trying to enforce copyrights on behalf of folks that own copyrights, for example, on photographs that end up on somebody else's website, your website. and then the copyright holder goes after you, the infringer. So we see that all the time. Now, it may or may not be a legitimate letter that party receives about infringement, but nonetheless, there are people out there that are enforcing their copyright rights. There's people out there enforcing their trademark rights. It's an important element of your trademark to enforce it and to protect it, because the reason we're doing it is so that we don't have another business out there using our mark unfairly against us and competing and taking our customers and confusing the consumer as to who they're really dealing with.
Next one. Guys, one of my suppliers has not paid me. I'm planning to take action against them so that I can get paid. The problem is they've been a good customer to this point, and I don't want to burn a bridge with them. I understand that times are tough. Regardless, I need to get paid. Is there a way I can indicate to them that I am willing to take action without being so forceful that it ends our business relationship? Asks LaShawn.
Well, LaShawn, I would say, first of all, you're not going to sell these people any more of your products or services until they pay you, because it's always a mistake to continue to sell to somebody who's not paying you. Now, to answer your question, I would say probably the least offensive thing you could do right now would be to put them on a COD basis. That, in and of itself, is going to rear the ugliness of it all, and you're going to know real quick whether you're ever going to get paid. However, if they owe you a significant amount of money, you need to take action. And when I say action, I'm talking about filing a lawsuit against them to collect your money. I'm not talking about using a collection agency or writing them a letter unless the letter comes from a lawyer. But be prepared to file a lawsuit within 10 days. I have found over the years that the quicker that you act to collect money, the more likely it is you will collect it. The longer you wait, the less likely it will be.
And sometimes you just have to go that route. You've got to get a lawyer involved.
Well, it's important if you're going to be collecting money, that's for sure. Now, let's go back and look at what we did to qualify this customer for credit to begin with. What steps did we take? Because if you're going to extend credit, you need to do something. You need to come up with a credit application. You need to have the customer complete that. You need to obtain the customer's personal information, because you want to determine what the credit capacity of that individual is. Then if you find that the individual has poor credit, bad credit, you would make your basis for extension of credit on that individual's credit capacity. And it may very well be that you would not extend credit.
LaShawn, we wish you the best of luck in your endeavor. Let us know how it all turns out. Thanks for your email. I appreciate it. And if you'd like to ask a question of Larry, radio show at AmeriLawyer.com. While you're there, you can check out all kinds of great information, or you could call us 800-520-7600. Leave your name and your question, and we may use it right here on the air. I'm Joe Castello. He's Larry Spiegel. Larry, take us home.
Joe, it's been a great show, and I hope everybody out there is planning their work and working their plan.
That's going to do it. We'll see you next time on AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today.
AmeriLawyer.com, where understanding your business is our business.
There are some mistakes in business that may cause the occasional headache. Then there are some mistakes in business that may keep you up all night for weeks and months at a time. Avoid those mistakes by seeking strategic business and legal advice from a team of attorneys ready to help you. Spiegel and Joe PA's General Counsel Club can assist you with the tough legal and business questions at crucial times. Call toll-free 800-734-9900 to receive your annual membership and be entitled to get unlimited strategic business and legal advice for a year. The General Counsel Club can assist with selecting a legal and tax structure for your business, building business credit, when a trust should own your corporation or limited liability company. What are the benefits of forming a corporation or a limited liability company? What are the differences between a corporation and limited liability company? Using employees versus independent contractors. Knowledge is power, and knowing that Spiegel and Joe PA's General Counsel Club is one phone call away may give you the confidence to succeed during the day and rest well at night. Call 800-734-9900 or log on to AmeriLawyer.com today.